Well, good morning. Jagender Rana here. The topic of the day is probable maximum loss. Probable maximum loss. So the PML and MFL. MFL is maximum foreseeable loss. These studies are commonly used by property risk engineers and insurance underwriters, and both estimates a maximum physical damage loss that could be sustained due to any one occurrence considered to be within the realm of probability. However, these studies differ from each other based on severity and likelihood. While PML studies typically assumes mitigation factors will be partially impaired or delayed, and in maximum foreseeable loss studies go a step further, assuming that any safeguards in place will fall to offer protection for this region. So an MFL study tends to provide a much higher loss expectancy that accounts for more significant financial loss. So for mega project stakeholders, a PML study is a critical starting point for increasing their understanding of a probable exposure and informing appropriate insurance strategies. Most construction insurers see PMLs as sufficient for satisfying their internal parameters for identifying and quantifying potential exposure. If a stakeholder is interested in taking a more conservative approach, knowing the MFL may be valuable. However, the usefulness of MFL study can vary the construction placement. So in some cases, MFL studies will produce numbers very close to the total insurable value of the construction projects. So as such, an infrastructure project continues to escalate in scale, cost and complexity. Key project stakeholders are increasingly concerned with the insurance coverage obtained for their capital projects. Insurers too are confronted by the rising cost of capital and aggregation challenges associated with the large-scale construction projects, making it more difficult for them to allocate funds to cover potential losses. So endorsements, they are taking actions to mitigate their risk, including offering higher premiums and reduced coverage options, as well as being more selective in the projects they choose. So now, loss estimates provide insurers with a reference value for a loss they could be exposed to at a specific site under the defined conditions. They consider these values to be important metrics for evaluating the risk associated with underwriting a construction insurance policy as well as for setting its premium and conditions. Insurance companies use a range of data sets to inform their various loss estimates. Their methods for estimating losses are usually similar in nature, but they may define terms differently and use the same initials for different phrases. So these are the methodologies, how the computation of PML is done. Step 1 says, arrange risk inspection. So the risk inspection report shall contain at least the following information: block plan of the factory, production or process details of the flow diagram, block-wise process or operation, that is of occupancy, equipment layout plans showing separating distances between the equipment, then details of construction, that is superior or class 1 or class 2 as per the committee's building regulations, occupancy and details of segregation, and quantity and nature of storage with details of hazardous and non-hazardous items, details of utility services and power distribution, estimated restoration time, repair facilities, details of spares, details of alternatives available to maintain production, housekeeping, maintenance facilities, details of disasters management plan, hazardous studies report if available, mutual aid scheme and details of public fire brigade, then details of fire protection system, policy schedule giving block wise sum insured, gross profit as per last annual report, sum insured for gross profit, indemnity period, time, access update, history of catastrophe events like flood, cyclone, etc. And then this is step 2 to identify this category. As per fire protection manual, 3 categories are there: light hazard, ordinary hazard, and high hazards. Then there is step 3, find out distances between blocks. Consider the blocks as single risk unless following distances are maintained for the occupancies mentioned against them. Then class of constructions as per committee's building regulations, separating distances. Say occupancy is light hazard, construction is superior, that is 5 m, class 1 7 m, class 2 10 m. Ordinary hazard, superior is 10 m, class 1 is 15 m, class 2 is 20 m. High hazard, superior is 15 m, class 1 is 30 m, and class 2 is 50 m. High pile storage of flammable liquids and gases is class 1 50 m. Then coming to the step 4, estimate the damage range in items of sum insured on the following basis: light hazard risk, building superior 5 to 25%, class 1 20 to 25%, class 2 30 to 80%. Then machinery superior 25 to 80%, class 1 25 to 80%, class 2 70 to 100%. Then stocks 100%, either it is superior or class 1 or class 2. Ordinary hazard risks, loss estimates are there on the same pattern but in higher quantity. High hazard risk is still higher. High hazard risk means loss estimates superior building 75%, class 1 100%, class 2 100%, machinery 100% in all 3 categories, stocks 100% in 3 categories. Then coming to step 5, the above damage percentage should be suitably loaded in case of ordinary hazard risk and high hazard risk as per table given below. What table is there? If lower hazard occupancy is within stipulated distances from the higher hazard occupancy, the percentage damage is to be taken as per the table. And this table says that high-rise building PML to be taken as 100%. Fire LOP PML, loss of profit PML, 100% of sum insured, that is annual gross profit. If indemnity period is 12 months, 50% of sum insured if indemnity period is 6 months. Then machinery breakdown and EEI, that is electronic equipment insurance, highest individual equipment value to be taken as PML. Now see the case study. Say computation of material damage PML. Risk is heavy engineering workshop having block wise sum insured value as per building, machinery and stock. Production block 80, 70 and 100. FG stores 25, 90. RM go down 35 and 140. DG house 15, 25 and 5. Admin block 30, 10 and 5. So if you consider the class of construction as per committee report, you will see the occupancy of light hazard, ordinary hazard and high hazards as per the classes, superior and class 1 and class 2. So in such a case, PML calculation would become easier if these information are there. And then maximum possible loss of anticipated gross profit resulting from a worst possible event of physical loss or damage to insured property arising out of the fire or explosion perils. Then computation of business interruption for PML. Factors affecting business interruption PML are sum insured, maximum limit of PML, period of indemnity, say for 6 months indemnity period, PML would be 50% of business interruption sum insured and so on. Then equipment replacement time, building replacement time, seasonal business fluctuations, production bottlenecks, interdependencies, contingent business interruptions, that is dependency on third party suppliers and or customers, then verified and tested business continuity plans. If you see, there are certain case studies, but at the same time guidelines are there. The scenario, accidental leakage for pressurized HC to form unconfined vapor cloud which explodes after coming into contact with a nearby ignition source. So in that case, step 1 is find out the total holdup of single largest discrete circuit, largest holdup of unit, that is vessel, reactors, storage drum, etc. connected together and contained by cutoff valves. Then step 2 is take 5% of the total holdup as arrived in step 1 above, and then assuming that leakage shall be limited to 5%. Then step 3 is find out TNT yield necessary to provide the same amount of emerging energy in the event of an explosion by the following formula, that is M is equal to TNT is equal to MV ASC vapor cloud, and this will calculate the step 4, estimate the damage ready for specified damages levels caused by overpressure due to detonation of TNT coolant by this prescribed formula, and then draw circles in the equipment layout plan from the point of leak as the RMP. Step 6, add all sum insured under different overpressure circles to arrive at PML figures. So this is the way how the PML is calculated, because the methodology is entirely depend upon the information and the feedback available, and the data should be accurate to come out for the right PML, because the probable maximum loss is an estimate of the monetary loss which can be sustained by insurers on a single risk as a result of single fire or explosion considered by the underwriters to be within the realms of probability, ignoring the presence of fire protection system and other fire suppressing system. So the estimate ignores such remote coincidences and catastrophes as may be possibilities but will remain unlikely. So the probable maximum loss is the largest loss that may be expected from a single fire or explosion to any given property when the most unfavorable circumstances are more or less exceptionally combined, and when as a consequence the fire is unsatisfactorily fought against and therefore is only stopped by impassable objects or lack of sustenance. So this is the same as MFL, that is maximum foreseeable loss. So estimated maximum loss is the largest loss that may be expected from a single fire or explosion to any given property, taking into account the various factors like fire fight system, sprinklers, fire alarms, public fire stations. In all probability, EML will always be lower than PML or MFL, means estimated maximum loss. So the difference between PML and EML represents the risk quality. That means bigger the gap, better will be the risk quality. Basic assumption for computing PML or MFL says, while computing PML, we are required to make the assumptions like impairment of fire protection system, then limited or nil public fire brigade efforts, then control of fires solely by physical barriers, detachment, lack of combustibles, and then a special risk approach, that is for a special complex risk, customized loss estimation techniques are used, energy or petrochemical risk or power plants or high-rise buildings. So significance of PML in underwriting and reinsurance is there, because underwriters require PML estimation to show loss potential. Higher the PML, higher the loss potential. To to set capacity line size to assist purchase of facultative reinsurance, to determine risk quality, difference between PML and EML is there, to identify accumulation of assets. So question is how to determine underwriting capacity. So find out risk PML, that is property damage plus business interruption, say 1500 crores. Then reinsurance treaty capacity, say 600 crores of PML for a single risk. Then underwriting capacity is equal to 600 upon 1500 into 10, that is equal to 40%. Available capacity is 35%, that is keeping a margin for future plant expansion or production capacity enhancement during the policy period. Hence, a company can safely write a share of 35% in the risk, irrespective of sum insured. Now, how to determine the facultative requirement? Let us assume that risk PML is 1500 crores for a rupees 5500 crore power plant. So a company writes a share of 66%, calculate the facultative requirement. So company's share of PML is equal to 60% of 1500, that is 900 crore. TT capacity is 600 crore. So hence the facultative requirement shall be to the extent of 300 crores. So PML, that is 20% of 100%. So 300 upon 1500 into 100. So importance of PML for client is there because the client require loss estimation to show loss potential at a plant, to set insurance purchasing limits, to assist insurer in understanding the risk, to identify the need for insurance, to allow client to set deductibles or captive levels, to identify accumulations of assets, and to identify risk quality, that is difference between EML and PML, and then to help identify where capital expenditure should be targeted. Now PML calculation methodology depends upon the property damage, and business interruption estimates should be based only on current replacement value. PML should not exceed 100%. Do not exclude extra expenses such as debris removal, decontamination cost, demolition, increased cost of construction, interdependencies. Underwriters are expected to adjust PML calculations based on account's first loss sublimits if opted for. Then the most unfavorable circumstances are peak season, maximum volumes upon quantities and continuity of combustible storage is there, and maximum possible impact on the business is there. Most unfavorable circumstances include adverse but usual weather conditions, strong winds and autumn, dry weather in summer, freezing in winter. So PML area depends on the occupancy, building wall construction, exposed wall length, combustible load in the corridor, passageway, actual separation distance. Where there is a clear visual lack of sustenance, always consider potential for flowing flammable liquids and flammable atmosphere that could cause fire spread between areas. So PML areas separating distances, measurements shall be taken at points where buildings are closest to each other. Perfect party bulbs shall consist non-combustible bulb without any opening of optician, no cables, direct. So abnormal circumstances could be there when the PML definition does not take into account abnormal circumstances such as arson, sabotage, terrorism, plane crash, object falling from the sky, natural perils, and completely freestanding, no attachment to existing load bearing structure on both sides of the wall is there. And in such cases, the detachment has to be seen because separation distance is dependent on fire load in both buildings, construction of facing walls, storage in between building, slope of the ground, height of the buildings. So these are the certain measures which should be taken while calculating or computing the PML. So exact PML will give you a better idea for accepting the risk, and maximum possible loss of anticipated gross profit resulting from a worst possible event of physical loss, damage to insured property arising out of the fire explosion will give a business interruption PML also. So these are the procedures and methods because computation of business interruption PML depends upon the factors affecting business interruption PML like sum insured, maximum limit of PML, period of indemnity say for 6 months, equipment replacement time, building replacement time, seasonal business fluctuations, production bottlenecks, interdependencies and contingent business interruption, verified and tested business continuity plan. With all these aspects would be considered. Thank you very much.